This video is a tutorial on adding numbers in Excel using the functions sum, SumIf, SumIfs, and SumProduct. The sum function will accept multiple inputs, add them together, and then output the total. The SumIf function will allow you to specify a criteria of your choosing, which the inputs must meet in order to be added together and then output the total. The SumIfs is very similar to the SumIf, except it allows you to specify multiple criteria which the inputs must meet. And finally, the SumProduct multiplies certain inputs together and then outputs the sum of the product. I'll start with the sum function. This function takes multiple numbers as inputs, adds them together, and as an output produces the total. It's most commonly used for ranges of data. In the example that I have on the left here, I have a shop that sells multiple different types of items. Imagine I wanted to work out how many items I'd sold in total. I could do so by adding each of these together using my sum function. And I'll do so equals sum, then my range will go from D2 through to D12. We add those up, that gives us a value of 112. So it's added each of the values in this column up and given us a value of 112. The sum function is one of Excel's most used functions. Because of this, Excel actually has a shortcut for it. If I highlight the data that I wish to add up, we'll see an icon appear in the bottom right, which brings up the Quick Analysis menu. Going to the Totals tab gives us a choice of functions. In this case, I select the sum function, and it gives us our total at the bottom of the data range that I selected, 112. The next function that I have for us to look at is the SumIf function. As before, this allows us to add numbers together, but it also allows us to filter certain numbers out based on a criteria of our choosing. If we take a look at our SumIf function, we'll see that it has three inputs: the range, the criteria, and the sum range. The range is the range of data that we're going to be looking at to see if it meets our criteria. Second input, the criteria, this is where we do our logical test to see if the data in range meets our criteria. And the third input, this is the range of data that we want to sum in the event that that data meets our criteria specified in range and criteria. Let's say that I work in the electronic department, and because of that, I'm only interested in products which are of the electronic category. How could I add up my total quantity from within the electronics department? Well, my first input is the range in which I want to apply my criteria. In this case, it's the A column, so I'll do A2 through A12. Next is my criteria. In this case, I want anything that's category is equal to electronic. And then finally, I want to add up from my quantity column again. So D2 through D12. And if we return on that, we see it's now added them up to give us a value of 24. In this case, 18 plus 6 is 24. So it's filtered out our food and drink and our clothing products. It's now just our electronic products that is added together. Let's take it one step further and say that we want to filter out based on the category of the product and also the quantity of the product. For example, let's say I'm only interested in items which are flying off the shelves and need replacing. I might do this by filtering out quantities not in excess of 10. To do this, I'm going to use the SumIfs function. If we take a look at the SumIfs function, you may notice that the inputs are the other way around. So in this case, the range that we're going to sum is on the left, whereas before it was over on the right. And you'll notice that we now have criteria range 1 and criteria 1. So this is a pair of inputs, and then ... which denotes we can add extra pairs of inputs. I'll start with the sum range input. In this case, it's going to be our quantity column again, so D2 through D12. Our next one, our criteria range, again, is going to be A2 through A12. And then our third input is going to be our criteria. So we're going to be looking once again for electronic. If I return on that, you'll see we once again get a value of 24. Now I'll add my next criteria. In this case, we're going to be filtering on the D column because we are checking for the quantity. So D2 through D12, and our criteria is going to be anything greater than 10. That's what we need to restock. So if I return on that, see we now have a value of 18 because we have sold 18 batteries. The headphones are now being filtered out because they do not meet our quantity criteria. If I wanted to, I could continue adding pairs of inputs to the SumIfs function to specify more criteria, but I think we get the idea for now. So I'll jump across to our next function, the SumProduct function. This function allows us to multiply columns of data together and then sum the results together. So if I use an example from our shop, I'll multiply the price column with the quantity column to find out the total amount of money we've brought in from sales. So I'll set up our SumProduct function now, equals SumProduct. And if you take a look at this, you'll notice we've got our inputs array1, array2, array3, dot, dot, dot. So we just add arrays of data and it will multiply each of them together. In this case, I'll start with C2 through C12 and then D2 through D12. If I return on that, it gives us our result, 418. So it's multiplied each column together and then added them up to give us 418.5. And then if I wanted to, as I said before, we've got array 3, array 4, so on and so forth. If I wanted to continue adding more inputs to multiply multiple columns together, then I absolutely could do so. That's everything for this tutorial on summing numbers in Excel. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. The sum functions are some of Excel's most commonly used functions, and they really shine when using large data sets that would otherwise be laborious to add up manually. I'll put links to useful materials on these functions down in the description below, and thanks everyone for watching.